Hello and welcome. Today we're dissecting the confusion surrounding the supposed deal to save TikTok in the United States. On one side, we have the US president claiming victory. On the other, a wall of strategic ambiguity from Beijing. To understand what's really happening, we need to look past the headlines and analyze the political, economic, and military dimensions at play. Let's begin with the events of September 19th. Following a call with President Xi, President Trump announced he approved the TikTok deal. He later posted on Truth Social appreciating the TikTok approval. This was presented as the culmination of a process that U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had confidently framed as a framework for a deal just days earlier. However, the narrative from Beijing was starkly different. A readout from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs made no mention of an approved deal. Instead, it stated that China respects the wishes of enterprises and welcomes them to conduct business negotiations in accordance with market rules. This is diplomatic language for nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. President Trump later seemed to walk back the finality of his own statement, admitting that control of the app's all-important algorithm was still being worked out and that we look forward to getting that deal closed. Announcing a deal is done, only to clarify that key components are still under negotiation, is a peculiar tactic. It highlights the immense political pressure on the White House to project strength and secure a tangible win in its economic conflict with China. This pattern isn't new. The administration has previously announced major trade deals that foreign partners later disputed or that failed to meet their stated targets, such as the 2020 trade deal with China. The White House is navigating a complex political landscape. Domestically, there is a rare bipartisan consensus on taking a hard line against China. The congressional mandate the entire TikTok saga was initiated by a 2024 law, passed with bipartisan support, that requires TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to divest its U.S. operations or face a ban. Lawmakers from both parties, including Democrats like Representative Raja Krishnamurthy and Republicans like House Chair Brett Guthrie, have vowed to scrutinize any deal. Their standard is clear. The law requires complete divestment from Beijing-controlled ByteDance, with no Chinese control over the algorithm or U.S. user data. Any deal that appears to be a halfway measure, such as a licensing agreement for the algorithm, will face intense opposition in Congress. The conservative base influential conservative groups like the Heritage Foundation have also weighed in, urging the president to reject anything short of full divestment and to call their bluff, and ban TikTok outright if China refuses. This creates a high bar for any agreement and limits the administration's room to maneuver. The repeated extensions of the sale deadline, now pushed to December, suggest difficulty in crafting a deal that satisfies both Beijing and domestic hardliners. The nonpartisan Cook Political Report, a key analyst of U.S. political trends, measures how such issues play out in elections. And the pressure to appear tough on China is a significant factor in the current political climate. From an economic standpoint, this is not just about a social media company. It's about control over a highly valuable economic asset and the rules of international commerce. The algorithm is the asset. The true value of TikTok is not just its 170 million US users. It's the recommendation algorithm that keeps them engaged. This technology is considered so valuable that in 2020, Beijing amended its export control list to include technologies like algorithms and source codes, effectively giving it veto power over any sale. China's insistence on retaining control or influence over this crown jewel is a primary sticking point. Government's role in deal-making. A particularly unusual element is the president's suggestion that the U.S. government would receive a tremendous fee for brokering the deal. This represents a significant incursion of the state into corporate deal-making. Following similar moves where the administration has taken stakes in companies like Intel and U.S. Steel as part of strategic agreements, such actions raise questions about the principle of competitive neutrality, which, as outlined by organizations like the OECD, aims to ensure that state-owned or state-backed enterprises do not have unfair advantages. Forcing a private transaction and then demanding a fee could be seen by other nations as a form of politically motivated protectionism, undermining the objective, data-driven economic analysis championed by bodies like the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis (B). Key economic and political factors in the TikTok deal. Primary U.S. goal is divestiture of TikTok from Chinese control to address national security concerns. Primary Chinese goal is protect valuable technology, the algorithm, and corporate interests without appearing to yield to U.S. pressure. The key asset in dispute is the recommendation algorithm, which falls under Chinese export controls. Domestic U.S. pressure is bipartisan demand from Congress and conservative groups for a full, not partial, divestment. Unusual economic element means proposed fee to be paid to the U.S. government for brokering the corporate deal. To truly grasp Washington's motivation, we must look at this through a security and intelligence lens. The concern is not about teenagers dancing. It's about data, influence, and the potential for what the military calls target audience analysis. The U.S. military and its allies invest heavily in understanding foreign populations. A recently released U.S. Army Technical Manual, TM3 53.11, is dedicated entirely to target audience analysis for psychological operations forces. The goal is to understand the beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, and motivations of a target audience to better influence them. The UK's Ministry of Defence has a similar focus, seeking to develop capabilities in analysing and understanding audiences to inform military strategy. From this perspective, a platform like TikTok is an intelligence goldmine. It provides a fire hose of data on a massive segment of a rival nation's population, offering insights into behavioral trends, what content resonates, what narratives spread, and how groups form and interact, network analysis, identifying connections between individuals and influential nodes within a society. Cognitive vulnerabilities, understanding the perceptions, attitudes, and beliefs that drive behavior, which can be leveraged in information operations. The fear is that the Chinese government could compel ByteDance to provide this data, creating what experts call population intelligence. This isn't just about collecting sensitive data on individuals. It's about understanding the entire human environment of a nation, which is a core component of modern warfare planning. The city, or in this case the digital space, is never neutral when a population is present. The platform itself becomes a potential channel for disseminating propaganda or disinformation to influence public opinion, a key concern in any analysis of military action and public support. So, where does this leave us? The TikTok deal remains in limbo, caught between conflicting political ambitions and strategic imperatives. 1. The deal is not done. The conflicting statements indicate that fundamental disagreements, likely over the algorithm, persist. President Trump's announcement appears to be a political maneuver designed to project success, rather than a reflection of a finalized agreement. 2. Security concerns are paramount. The U.S. security establishment's focus on target audience analysis provides the underlying and legitimate rationale for the divestment law. The potential for data exploitation and foreign influence is the non-negotiable issue for Washington. 3. Economics and politics are inseparable. This is a clear example of how economic activity is now subordinate to geopolitical strategy. Principles of free markets and competitive neutrality are being set aside in the name of national security. For the public, trying to find the truth in this requires consulting a wide range of sources. Relying on a single outlet is insufficient. Fact-based, but editorially different, sources like the Associated Press, Reuters, the BBC, and even partisan-leaning but high-standard publications can provide a more complete picture when read together. Ultimately, the resolution of the TikTok saga, whether it comes at the APEC summit in South Korea or is delayed further, will be a powerful indicator of the future of U.S.-China relations. It will signal whether a technological decoupling is inevitable or if a fragile, highly managed coexistence is still possible. For now, we remain in a state of strategic ambiguity, where the only certainty is that the stakes are incredibly high. Thank you for watching.